Please like and leave a heart. Please.
There we go. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the V-Door Locksmith Show. I'm your host, David Gibson, where we are unlocking the secrets to success in the oil and gas industry. One interview, one technical presentation, and one technical screw-up at a time. Don't know what the technical screw-up will be for this week, but if you see it, please let us know. Also, let us know where you guys are watching from. Love to be able to give you a shout-out here on the show. Super fantastic Friday today. Super excited about the show and just the day in general. Most importantly, super excited about the fact that we have a sponsor once again for the show, hashtag Rig Reports. So if you haven't checked them out before, now is the time to be able to do so. So give those guys a look. But yes, an amazing Friday here. So yeah, like I said, please guys, let me know where you're watching from. Love to be able to give you a shout out here on the show. Had an amazing week. Couple of things that I saw here that I've had in the digital library of the show. Remember, I had these. So I hope everybody had a wonderful Valentine's Day, at least last Friday and stuff. But I just remembered that these are on here. So I didn't show them last week, but hey, if anybody got any chocolate drill bits last week or this past weekend, love to be able to see the ones that you got. We had some once upon a time. So other food items related to Gibson Reports. We made cookies once upon a time. Might have to do that again sometime, but just some other random stuff that I had on here and I wanted to be able to show. So here we go. Good morning, Mr. John DeWart. Good morning from cold, sunny Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. I'm guessing it's cold everywhere right now. Talal, with the guys over there at Mi4 and Rig Reports, our new sponsor for the show. Thank you for tuning in and being here, sir. We appreciate it very, very much. There you go. Those guys are giving out a really, really, really cool surprise. We've got the 3D printed drill bit, but we've also got a little bit more. We'll show you guys that in just a minute. All right. Also, Tony Evans, good morning from Patal. Thank you for being here. Also, the famous LinkedIn users tuning in from Spring, Texas. Thank you guys for being here. So, like I said before, here we go, media assets. If you want to, put in hashtag Rig Reports for your chance to be able to win. Not only are you going to get yourself one of these 3D printed Gibson Reports drill bits, but you're actually going to get something custom. The guys over there did something absolutely amazing. Check this out. You can get your name, and it's, I guess it's up to the law on what it says here in the front, but that's up to you guys, what you want on there. Then even on the back, it says, rigreports.com. But check that out. They just sent this over to me. I think that's just, those guys are awesome. So, put in hashtag Rig Reports. Definitely worth it. Do it. You're going to get some awesome stuff. So, let me go through what, we've got a quick little commercial for these guys, and then we'll be right back with the show. All right, you guys. I've got to tell you about Rig Reports and Mi4. They are sponsoring the show, and Rig Reports has their daily operations app for operators, consultants, and it's really impressive. Imagine this. You are no longer stuck messing with Excel, email, or paper reports. Everything is digital and automated, so it's more accurate and efficient. You get real-time data access to reports, analytics, which means you can make decisions immediately. It will save you time when doing things like lookbacks or approving on invoices that come in months after a job. It's also user-friendly. Most people figure out how to use it without training. That's a big plus. And for consultants, you'll have all your clients set up with their own databases, and you can switch between them seamlessly. So if you're still sending reports manually or using outdated and complicated software, this might be just what you need. Check out rigreports.com to learn more and schedule a demo. Trust me, it's worth checking out. This is really good software. Really like these guys. I've recommended them numerous times when people ask me to be able to do something. I said, I'm probably not your person. These guys have done it and figured it all out. they're the ones to use. So check it out. Hashtag rig reports into the comment section now. Let's see. There we go. Some people are doing it. It's working. That's what we need. There we go, guys. All right. Oops, I completely hit the wrong button there. Banners, ads. There we go. Okay. Oh, I still got the wrong thing on there. Okay. It's okay. Rig reports. All right. Now, on with the rest of the show. We got an amazing guest. Dimitrios Pirovolou is our guest today. Dimitrios, thank you so much for being here, sir. I really, really do appreciate it.
Thank you, David.
All right. So I want to be able to go ahead and get this kicked off. There's a lot of things that we can talk about, a lot of different things that you do in the industry and out of the industry that I would love to be able to hear from you. But first, for everybody who doesn't know who you are, give us a quick background on yourself.
All right. So I'm with Weatherford right now as a drilling engineering advisor. I've been in the industry about 28 years, 29. And the first 20 of those with SLB, working on rotary steerables. Then I moved to drilling automation in the early stages. I spent 7 years between 2003 and 2010 in this area. Then I moved to Brazil for 3 years. With the pre-salt activities down there. Then I came back 2013. I spent a couple of years with MPD in SLB. And after that, I spent a couple of years also with MPD here, where I am now with Weatherford. In the last 5 years, I went back full circle to drilling services, working on rotary steerables, telemetry, LWD technologies, everything that we do in drilling services. My background is electrical engineering by training, but really I work as my field is controls, system engineering, optimization, modeling, that kind of stuff. And that's the connection really to automation, if that makes sense. So that's me, pretty much.
What have you found of all those things? Because obviously you've worked across a lot of different facets within the drilling landscape. Which one's been the most, I guess, I don't know, I want to say entertaining or most joyful, or the one you found to be the most fun?
Every one of those experiences had its own, fun part. I enjoyed the 3 years in Brazil because I had the opportunity to interact with clients directly and with external and internal, that is. Most of my career, as you can tell, has been in service companies, and the client is really the product line for engineers, for engineering development, like me, So you develop hardware, you develop tools, always you're under pressure with the schedule and the budget, and that's not very fun, but developing the technology is fun. The 3 years in Brazil, I had the opportunity to see firsthand what the clients actually need and what they expect from service companies. And you have a different perspective, You see that, the interest of the people that really pay the bills, what they want, how they use the tools, etc. So it's a little bit different, the angle, compared to what you see when you have the product line making every call every day, Now, in terms of the technology, I think, like I said, the rotary steerables was a lot of fun. That was my first exposure in the industry. I spent a few years developing RSS tools. It was new back 25 years ago, trying to make a contribution, a big contribution to the industry. But after that, I have to say that MPD is also, I find it very interesting technology. And I don't think it's being utilized enough for whatever reason. We can discuss this maybe. But I think it has a lot to offer. And there are a lot of opportunities there to optimize how we drill, but also to improve the safety, which is a big aspect of it. And I think the last few years maybe it's picking up, but one would think that, it would be used more than it is currently being used. I know that it's expensive, there are costs, all the aspects, but from a technical point of view, I think it's a very interesting technology.
What do you think it would take to be able to get MPD more widely adopted in the industry?
I think this is a very it's a very key question that applies to many technologies, not just MPD. It applies to automation, and tomorrow will apply to AI, etc. And it has to do with, the risk reward and the business case. From what I have seen, usually technologies are being developed because there are a few techies, a few nerds, if you want, that believe in an idea and they take it on and somehow they make it work and they find the money to fund, the proof of concept, and it happens. Some of them, they succeed in the marketplace. They make their own business case, if you want, and it's obvious, and some others fail. And you would think that, I have seen this again and again, you would think that it would be the other way around, that we realize that we need something, then we build it. But what I have seen, for whatever reason, is that first we build something, and then we figure out how to use it and why to use it. And MPD is the same, I think. It started, I don't know, maybe 15, 20 years ago, as far as I can tell. It created a lot of excitement, but then, when you try to scale it up and deploy it, the costs are kind of make many people think twice. And that's where the balance is. Is it worth the expense, introducing the technology? What if nothing happens, if there is no accident, for 5 years? Is it worth spending the money? But when you have the one, disaster, then you say, okay, I should have used it. So I think that's where the trade-off is. And depending on the business climate, people decide whether to invest in technology or not. I cannot really speak for how the business decisions are made. Every company has their priorities and their business. But from the technical side, I think that's really what's holding back some of these more interesting technologies, I would think.
So you brought up something that I did want to be able to ask you about, which is investment in new technology. Obviously, You've been in the industry for quite some time. You've seen a lot of big technologies, go from being just ideas to full-blown commercial services, and almost you could say standards in the industry now.
Yeah.
Where do you think we're at now in the industry as far as reinvestment back into new technology? And is there anything that we can do to, maybe positively change that to be able to reach that next level?
Yeah. This is an interesting question. And before my time, and I'm talking now more than 30 years ago, I understand that operators had very much vertical integration, and they were developing technology themselves. And then during the 86 cycle, a lot of these people, they moved out, operators kind of became leaner, and all that knowledge and all that talent went to the service companies, really. And for the next 15, 20 years, the service companies were the primary vehicle for technology development. I would say, at least in the upstream industry. And 2010, 15, when the downturn happened, 2014, the service companies started losing a lot of that talent and a lot of that technology development. The budgets are not the same anymore. For sure, they're not the same for the operators, and they're not the same for the service companies. And what I think is happening in the last, 5, 10 years, is that a lot of smaller players are willing to take those risks and develop technologies that the bigger service companies are not willing to. Companies like SLB and Weatherford and Baker, I suppose, and Halliburton, they are focusing on better execution, the commercial aspect, but they're not willing to spend, $100 million, for example, to develop a groundbreaking technology. That kind of risk is not in the menu anymore. And you see smaller companies, startups, privately funded, that are willing to take chances, with this kind of money, 20, 30, $50 million, that it really is mind-blowing, I think, And so, some of them will fail, and some of them will be bought out. And you see that's where the new technology is coming from, I think. Of course, there are exercises where you repackage the existing technology, you try to optimize, to fine-tune, etc. But this is not really, groundbreaking. Now, it will be interesting to see what happens with the new buzzword, AI. Will the big guys lead that development, or would be the small players that kind of drive it, or is going to be a combination between the two? We'll find out. Yes, but it's never straightforward to plan this top down. It always happens from the bottom up. So we'll see how it plays out.
So you bring up a really great point, because it's kind of two things that I wanted to be able to ask you about, which is one part of it's AI, but then the other part is because a lot of the AI that I'm foreseeing that we're going to be using in the industry is not going to be coming or built within the industry specifically for the industry. It'll be something that's outside of the industry that we're bringing in. So do you see that as essentially a way for us to be able to find, as you say, groundbreaking technologies? Is it really going to go from us being able to do things at the operator level, at the service company level, and now we're just going to have to find ideas and technologies from outside of the industry and bring them in?
I'm not sure I got the question right, David, because I had some breakup, of the audio. But if I understand correctly, you're asking if we will have to bring technology ideas or applications from outside the industry and try to deploy them and adopt them. Is that the question?
Yes.
I think so. I think there are plenty of examples where we can learn. I think it would be a little bit arrogant for us to think that we can develop everything we need ourselves from scratch, And I know that we know our application, we know our field, but it doesn't mean that we are the first ones to face a problem or similar type of problems. And I'm thinking here aviation. The aviation industry has been around, for as long as we have. Maybe they started when early 20th century. We started a little bit earlier, but they have faced challenges from a technical challenges that we're just starting to face. And I'm thinking, integration of different systems coming from 10, 20 different vendors, radars, engines, not sure what else, flight control, etc. A rig is not much different really from that point of view. You have equipment from and services from many different providers, and until very recently, I don't know, maybe 5-10 years, there was not very much interaction between those two pieces. The rig, of course, is the rig, but then you have all these other providers coming on board that usually they don't talk to each other. They operate as islands. So I think we can benefit there to learn, how to integrate all these different services, all these different equipment, all these different data, and make the whole system robust. If one measurement, one sensor fails, you don't want the whole system to be vulnerable. Another industry, I think that we can see some analogies is, racing. I'm thinking Formula One and that kind of setup where you have telemetry data in real time, very high bandwidth, analyze, send back configuration to the engine, we're seeing some of these concepts already. And I'm thinking maybe from a drilling point of view. So others have faced the problems that we are facing, the challenges, I should say. And I think it's wise to keep an open mind and see what we can learn and be selective. Doesn't mean we have to do everything that others do, but it's silly to make the same mistakes and spend time and money, rediscovering the wheel, so to speak. So to answer back to your question, I think the answer is yes. We need to always keep an open mind and see what others are doing and what they are thinking and how they are solving problems. It's not weakness, it's strength to be able to do that.
And that's a very valid point. So back to the other part then is, what do you think we'll be able to accomplish with AI within the drilling landscape? Obviously, given some of the problems right now that, is probably the biggest one that the industry is facing is interoperability and different systems being able to talk to each other. So this is the second part of the question. Or maybe it's the first, I don't know. I'll figure this out here in a second. Yeah. But does AI put kind of the fire under our feet to figure out how to be able to get everything to talk together so that we can properly use it and have that as a tool? Because we're probably going to need everything communicating with each other properly so that we can use AI. But that's a lot of that's my guess. I want to be able to hear your opinion on that whole mess of a situation.
Yeah, I think I understand your question, and I mean, what drives what it comes down is interoperability an enabler for AI, or we have to provide interoperability because we want somehow to use AI, and at the end, I don't know if it makes a difference. I think one and the other, they go hand in hand. Interoperability. Let's start there. Interoperability, I think it has a lot of potential for the industry, because today there is efficiency, in my opinion. The way I see it is that there is a lot of efficiency that we lose just because we have proprietary sensors, proprietary actuators that they don't talk to each other. And every time that there is a need to change, to move from one version to another version, it takes a lot of time and a lot of effort and cost and human capital to do that. And that translates directly as loss of efficiency, which affects the whole industry. And that happens at the time where we need to be competitive. So from that point of view, interoperability, of course, has a cost. Having the ability for the different sensors, different actuators, different pieces of software to talk to each other transparently and communicate and interact with minimal human intervention has a cost. But I think the benefit that it brings is much bigger. And we have to make that case. We have to make that, to identify the value for this, so the technology can be deployed and accepted and adopted. Otherwise, we're going to have one more of those cycles that we had, with automation and other technologies, MPD, etc. Now, assuming that we get there and we have, certain level of interoperability, what does that allow us to do? I think, like I said, it's an enabler for AI. Once you have now this next level of intelligence, one layer up, let's say, compared from the hardware, having the ability to look at different data, different sensors in real time, etc., it's going to allow us to process all that data fast, quickly, and make decisions and optimize in real time and in slower. It doesn't have to be execution level. It can be planning level. It can be make decisions that will create a lot of value and maybe solve the kind of problems that we cannot solve today manually with our existing processes and procedures. And I'm thinking, when you have a very large scale problem, I'm thinking like field development. How many wells I need to drill and why and where and what profile and how much production I can expect for that. And you have a optimization problem where I don't know, you have thousands of parameters that you need to tune. business related and technology related, it's impossible to run this kind of optimization without having some intelligence. I think there is potential there for AI to make a huge contribution. The type of contribution that we cannot even think of. I was thinking, before preparing for this interview, 100 years ago,
Hey, Dimitrios, I'm gonna pause you real quick. You might have to recycle your web browser there because you're cutting out real bad. I don't know if it's just me or if everybody else is seeing it. Hold on. Take him off stage real quick. Bring him back. Dimitrios, are you there?
140 years ago.
He is still going. Dimitrios.
The bad players out. I think that's really.
Uh-oh. I hate to do this. I hate to do it, but I couldn't get him there, so I had to kick him out real quick. Hopefully, he'll come right back on. Shoot him an email. Me as well. Dimitrios cutting out. It happened yesterday in the DSATS meeting. Okay. Nope, that's not the person I want to email. Dimitrios. Plow. Coming back on Buzz. Sorry about this, guys. But hey, such is life and such is. Oh, there he is. Add to stage. All right, Dimitrios, are you there?
I'm back, yeah.
Okay, sorry. I had to kick you off just for a second because it was lagging real bad. You were definitely in a great little monologue, but the last thing I had heard is that you were saying that in preparing for this interview, and that was
yes. What I was thinking there was that trying to draw an analogy. 100 or 130 years ago, when electricity was the new technology, would it have been possible for someone to foresee what the applications and the possibilities would be from this new technology? The likes of computers and electric cars and telecommunications, etc. It's really not possible. So I think today this AI, new technologies, is that level is that magnitude of change that we are facing. I think even in 10 years from now, the applications, what will be available as enabled by AI, it's going to be mind-blowing. I think the potential is for huge productivity gains and solving the types of problems that we can't today. It's gonna change the way we see the world. Now, of course, the challenge will be to do that safely and not for hurting each other and doing bad things. I think that's always a risk with new technologies, how they're being misused. But if we manage to keep that straight, and the benefit that potential benefit, I think is huge.
So let me ask you this: what problem in the industry that currently exists would you like to be able to tackle with AI?
With scale, let me give you an answer that I have gotten from peers, from our friends and operator side. There are huge, large sets of data from drilling well after well after well, those factory drilling programs, where really I don't think we are extracting all the value out of this, all this activity. A lot of this data is being collected and then it's being archived, and we don't comb through it, to learn everything that there is to learn. What went right, what went wrong, why we had here stick slip, why we had vibration, why we had sticky pipe, why we were able to get to the end of the run in one bit run, why the RSS failed, why the well went to the right place or it didn't go to the right place. There is so much to learn, but that's of course very expensive, and it takes a huge effort, and I'm not sure the risk reward or cost reward balance is there today to go through that, But if we have the tools through AI to do this at scale and look at all this data and process it, consistently without subjective biases, etc., and extract all that knowledge from this, it's going to enable us to plan and execute better wells and make better decisions. And that's just one application, you can see that level, that capability, optimizing and ability to solve problems and make decisions in many different applications. Even I said that, with the example with the wells from a planning point of view, but same thing can happen during the execution phase of the well. When you are drilling, there are a lot of variables that matter. Hydraulics, performance optimization, drilling optimization, where you place the well, how is the production potential changing as you are drilling? With every undulation that you do the well up and down, what does that do to the production in real time? I think it's having that kind of knowledge, having that information can change the way we do things, And you can start thinking about putting some of this intelligence in the downhole tools themselves, and they make some certain level of decisions. Of course, it's a hierarchy. You can move up and down the ladder, and you can. I think the potential is huge, and I don't want to say something and limit myself,
No worries. I completely get it. What do you think is one of the biggest challenges we're facing currently for drilling automation? So, if you could snap your fingers and either everybody gets on board or you're able to fund a project. Yeah. What's the big sticking point that we're facing right now to be able to get to where everybody's talking about and wanting to be able to go?
Yeah. That's a big question, David. And
I'm going to ask you all the hard ones.
For quite some time now, the culprit has been the lack of a clear business case, a business model, why we do that and who benefits and how we split the value that is being created and who pays for it. And this is really old news, It doesn't mean it's not valid point. It is valid, but it has been around for long and we don't seem to be making progress, generally speaking. Of course, there are specific technologies, specific applications that are more successful than others. And if I had to summarize in one sentence, I think that's one factor. But now, recently, and with this explosion of, with the internet and digitalization, etc., cybersecurity is another factor that more and more people are concerned. And why do I open my system? And what if someone is trying to do something wrong? So that is a big a source of fear for people adopting more, automation. And another factor is how robust is automation. Okay, if everything goes as expected, the nominal case, yes, it seems to be working and do what it's supposed to do. But the moment something deviates a little bit off normal, then the system is not able to handle it, and either it passes control back to the operator, or raises the hands and gives up. Well, that's not acceptable, and I think that's a part of the reason why many people are afraid to take that leap. And it's a valid point, I think. And the way to solve this is not, the developer or the user waiting for each other, to kind of stick their neck out. Either the developer to spend, I don't know, millions and millions and millions to make the system perfect before anyone can look at it. That's not going to happen. And the developer cannot expect the user to use a system that is half-baked and you try to deploy it and it creates a disaster. It has to be hand-in-hand collaboration and incrementally start, small, manage the risk, learn, build, go to the next level, and keep that loop going and going and going and going. I think that's the only way to move forward. But that takes persistence, and for that to happen, the vision needs to be there. And, the long-term vision and what I'm going to get from it as we go there and at the end. And I think that has not been clearly quantified and captured. And that's, I think, one of the reasons, if not the main reason, for holding us back. Technology is the limit here. I think that the technical part, we can make things work, but why and how, that's a little bit unclear,
That's some great insights.
Does that make sense? Did I answer your question?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's definitely stuff that, the show could be required viewing material for all operators and decision makers. Okay, my screen comes back on. All right, having a little bit of just a random technical difficulties today. It's not just me just blatantly messing something up. It just happens to be the internet. All right. So Dimitrios, take me through. Obviously, I know that you're very involved with a lot of the different SPE groups, but take me through what you guys are trying to achieve in DSATS. What are some of the challenges that y'all are facing there? And if anybody who's watching here hasn't joined or haven't been a part of DSATS, maybe you can try to recruit some people to be able to come over there and join you guys.
So the last couple of years, we had a couple of activities in DSATS that kind of dominate our time and the limited resources we have, and that is DWIS, which stands for Drilling Well Interoperability Standards. That's, I think, the biggest activity we have right now, and we're trying to prove the concept, basically, that it is possible to have sensors, actuators, and software decision makers, let's say, decision applications, all of them to kind of talk to each other seamlessly and plug and play, essentially, where you can connect to the network and recognize immediately who is there and what data they provide. And everybody recognizes you, the newcomer. What are you? You are an actuator that does what? You are an auto driller. You are a choke. You are what? And what data you provide, and can we trust the data that you are giving us? For all this to happen without human interference, that all this is computer readable. A computer can recognize, what is happening and decide what to do with that. Imagine the potential of that. So that's an activity that has been going on for a few years now. It started with Daryl Fed from Total, if you remember. He was driving this interoperability for a while. It's not a new concept. It has been around for maybe 8 years, if not longer, in our segment. But the last few years, it has gained momentum, and now we see more operators, contractors first, and also, to some extent, operators, starting to show interest. And that is very encouraging. And we're targeting to have a proof of concept deployment on a platform, the North Sea, next year. Until now, we have been doing lab demos, essentially, where you have different actors coming together, and just like that, like I said, magically, they manage to talk to each other. Participants so far are, Norse in Norway, Sekal, Baker, Halliburton, Petrobras. Imagine this, everybody coming with their own piece of software, you connect to the network, and they can all interact together, understand the data that they are sharing, and use data from each other in making their decisions. It's like a distributed system. It's not a centrally controlled system that you have now to worry about things like conflict resolution and what happens if one actor falls out, if a crashes, whatever. The rest of the system has to be solid. So we are right in the middle of it, if you want. We have showed already in demos that this is viable. The technology is there to allow this to happen. And we're looking now to see how we can make this transparent. In other words, how you can deploy a system like this kind of technology from one rig to the next, regardless of what control system they have, regardless of what ADCS, automated drilling control system they have, to help people. One rig may be using Node, for example. Next rig may be using Bill from HMH. The next rig may be using a neighbor's system, etc. Every rig is kind of different, if you want. It used to be much worse, but still today there are differences. How can you bring applications like this or hardware and not worry about what is the hardware that you are connecting to? You just bring it in, you plug it, and it works. So we're trying to demonstrate in a lab setup that this is possible. And this year we have scheduled a few demos to prove the concept. But of course, proving a concept is not enough. And we have seen this time and again. The challenge is how do you make this commercially viable and deploy it at scale? That's really when it becomes interesting. And that's where the industry seems to be buying into this concept, and hopefully we can drive it past the finish line, but we'll see. Now, some of the challenges that we have is that our members, DSATS has about 2,500 members, and it's a good number. It's a healthy community, a healthy size number, but from these 2,500 members, maybe 50 are actively participating. And that's typical, I think, for other technical sections and for IADC and for other entities in our industry. So people are most people, I would say maybe 90%, they're kind of sitting on the sidelines, watching and listening and keeping their finger on the pulse, let's say, of what's going on, but they don't have the time or the bandwidth or the resources to get engaged more actively. I think that's a challenge. And I would like to see more people kind of contributing. And everybody has something to contribute, everybody. But what we see is that the same faces again and again and again are the ones that are more visible. And somehow, if I had the magic stick, I would try to engage more people, especially younger people, and that's where it's important for the management of different companies to enable, to promote, to encourage young people to participate. Bringing them in and having them work, 60-hour weeks and not letting them participate, I think is counterproductive in the long term. The more these people interact and learn, the more value they create for all of us as an industry. Now, this is maybe a little bit vague. It sounds like I don't have the numbers, but in the long term, I think we need to do that. If we want to attract talent, we have to let them grow and take out the value that they can take, not squeeze them, and burn them out.
Well, I mean, it's great to be able to hear that, because I know that we're having a bit of an issue with the petroleum engineering graduation rates, or just attracting new people into the industry. All right, we're not at the end of the show yet, but I would be remiss if I didn't just make a quick pivot and be able to talk to you about something on your outside of work, but something that started within the industry, something I know you're heavily involved in. So could you give me a rundown and tell us a little bit about your experience and your work with RedM?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got mine. Mine's, I think, there it is.
Right. So let me tell you about RedM, how I got involved with RedM.
It's out of focus, but it's there.
Yeah, I can see it. Yeah. So I know David Reed for the last 20 years, through SPE and the Dream Automation. That's how I first met David 20 years ago. And we have kept in touch in conferences and etc. for work, for automation. And through LinkedIn, that was about 2016, 2017. I saw that David started getting involved with anti-trafficking efforts, and how to, raise the visibility of the issue. And I didn't immediately get engaged, because at the time there were some gala activities, etc., some expensive things that I couldn't participate myself. Then, right before the pandemic, 2020, during that year, 1920 or so, David started organizing what he called the Red Talks. It was like TED Talks, the concept, where he would bring in people, sometimes survivors from the industry, from trafficking, or other experts, to give a talk and share their personal experience. And those were sponsored by companies like Amazon, etc. And you could go listen to a talk like this for an hour and have a drink and meet people for something like $20 or something, So I thought, of course, this is an opportunity here. So I ended up attending one of those presentations in February of 2020. And a survivor, a lady, came in, and she was strong enough to share her own story, and my jaw dropped, really. I didn't realize how serious the problem was, and how it's right next to us, really, whether we know it or not. And if it happens to, there was nothing wrong with that lady, because she didn't come from a poor background, or if it can happen to her, it can happen to anyone. And I have a daughter. At that time, she was like 15, 16-year-old, and I was terrified. I said, okay, we have to do something here. And of course, COVID hit 2 weeks later, and everything shut down. And for a few months, everybody was closed, locked at home, not going out, etc. So, and I kept bothering David. I said, David, when is the next talk? When is the next talk? And David turns back and says, talks don't happen like that. If you want to talk, you need to get involved. So that's how I got involved, really. And we organized that year, that October, a few months later, a summit here in Houston, where we invited, and that was, with masks, and you can imagine now, in the middle of the pandemic, pre-vaccine, pre-everything. And we had that event with social distancing and keeping away from each other, but we still had it. And 100 people showed up, many organizations that are active in the area, in this field, and out-of-town visitors. And it was actually a turning point, I think, for them. And at that point, it was still kind of a casual thing, There was no registration with the state, or we were not an organization. It was like a group of people having a gathering and trying to raise the visibility. So when we started having regular meetings, bi-weekly meetings or something, and everybody had to do their part for the next event. And me, being an engineer and a kind of a numbers guy, I'm not a creative type of guy, So David said, okay, why don't you look to see would become a 501c3, because some companies were interested to donate software and money to RedM, but of course they wanted a receipt for the tax exemption. So I started taking care of all the logistics for them, the registration with the state, with IRS, the bank, finances, legal, and that's what I have been doing for the last 5 years. Help set up the organization and run kind of the back office, if you want, payments, and make sure we don't lose money when we do events, and work with all the different teams that organize events. Normally what we do is cultural nights or sport events or golf or you name it. There is we're open to everything, art events, and all the proceeds that we collect are going to survivors, to overcomers. We have zero costs. We have no staff, no salaries, no facilities, no leases, nothing. All of us is 100% volunteers, and 90% of what we raise goes back to the people that need it, and also to educate people about the magnitude of the issue. The little money that we spend is for, like mugs like this and tumblers and T-shirts, etc., which we end up distributing out to the community, essentially. So I think it's a worthy cause. It's growing. Now we started here in Houston, of course, but now we're looking to expand to other states and other cities. And there are like 10 chapters in the making. In Austin, in Boston, in Denver, in Midland, and even in Europe, Aberdeen and London, Paris. So it sounds big, but it doesn't, having a few people in every city that start making noise, and it's like planting a seed, and the community starts building around every seed, and soon enough you have 100, 200, 500 people, all of them kind of thinking and talking about this, and that's how you raise awareness. And it has been very rewarding to be part of that, and it's still going, and there are many, the potential is there. Now, how much difference will make to the world, I don't know, but even if you save one life, one survivor, is worth it, and we have RedM so far. We have saved maybe 30. There are 30 cases were identified, and some of them rescued, extracted from trafficking, and many being supported, to reintegrate. So it's not engineering like we do here every day, but it's really a very, very positive experience participating in that.
Well, I wanted to be able to say thank you, and I appreciate the work that you're doing in it. I know I haven't done as much, but I'm trying to do, just that small part that I can to be able to help with the group.
Every little hint counts, and it's appreciated.
So for everybody that is watching, if you are interested in being able to get involved, you can reach out to myself, Dimitrios, or go to RedM website. It's not hard to be able to find any of the items online, right? So David Reed as well, even though he is in the C-suite at NOV, he is fairly easy to be able to get in touch with. All right, Dimitrios. Okay, so with RedM and with drilling automation, anything else that you would like to be able to share with the audience today on either regard?
I would like to thank the people that attended the call today, and invite everybody to participate. Find a few minutes a week to visit the website or participate in the calls and bring in their experiences and their perspectives. And also, I would like everybody here, if they have the ability, to promote, younger people to engage in these activities. And that's the lifeline, really, the continuity for what we need to do. I think we have a lot of interesting technical work in front of us, and even though the industry is facing headwinds, I think we are part of the solution going forward, and don't let anyone tell us otherwise. we have to do our part. We have to be responsible, but we are part of the solution. And young people is integral to that. So we need to bring them in and then enable them and recognize them. So I think that's my closing message, for the audience.
I agree. And somebody we both know, Fred Florence, did a lot of work pushing SBE to allow students to be able to join the technical sections. So the 4 technical sections within drilling, we've got the geothermal, the ISCWSA or the wellbore positioning technical section, DSATS drilling systems automation technical section. What am I at? 3 geothermal, yep, and then 4 DUPS.
DSA, engineering analytics, and there is also science, what is called R&D technical section that I thought was falling under drilling for a while. I'm not sure now if it's still there. So yeah,
I think it's just the 4 right now. The DUPS, DSATS, geothermal, and ISCWSA. I don't know. Maybe we get in touch with Robin McMillan. We'll ask him since he's the one in charge of it. So, Dimitrios, thank you so much for being on the show today. Really, really appreciate your input. My big takeaway from today is, the similarity you said to, electricity and where we're at today with it, and how, that impact of AI. I kind of tell my kids, it's like I grew up, going through the phase of the internet and what the internet is today. I think my kids are going to go through AI, seeing what it is kind of in the beginning, and then, as they get older, seeing what all it's been able to do. And I'm really excited to be able to see, what it's able to accomplish in our industry. So hopefully some of those operators that have all got the data get on board and share it. So, all right, guys, if you haven't already, be sure to do this real quick. Hashtag Rig Reports. The guys from over at Mi4 are our sponsor now. Once again, I want to show you guys this. This is too cool. If you can see it, right? You're going to get, it's not going to say David Gibson on it. You're not going to win one that says David, unless you want this one, right? I don't know why you would, but if you want to be able to have this on your desk, and it says, Rig Reports on the back. But if you want to get a custom one like this, be sure to put in hashtag Rig Reports in the comment section now. Like I said, so thankful for all you guys being here. So Andrew says, great conversation. John Norton says, bring back slide rules. And then Jim Knight, very interesting, worthwhile conversation. Thanks both. I should probably take this thing off the screen while I'm reading this. There we go. So thank you guys all for watching. Do appreciate it. All right, let's do the giveaway drawing here. So present, share screen. StreamYard giveaway tool. Yep. Share that one. Putting that up. Add to stage. There we go. We've got 9 entries so far. All right. Let's hit it. Comments. We'll take that one off. And our winner for today is Keith Stelter. Keith, buddy out in the Permian. All right, sir. You are the winner. Get in touch with me. We'll get you one of these fancy things sent over. Plus a 3D printed drill bit. He's probably already got one of those drill bits that I've given him before. But there we go. All right. Dimitrios, once again, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it so much. Look forward to seeing you at the SPE drilling conference in Norway in 2 weeks. So if anybody hasn't gotten their ticket, worthwhile to be able to go if you want to be a part of. They'll have DSATS meeting, probably having tons of other meetings that I don't even know about, but I know they're having DSATS and the ISCWSA meeting. So I will be at the ISCWSA one, probably attend a little bit of the conference. Yeah, so that's it for me, guys. Everybody have a wonderful weekend. And as always, hold on, find the button to click here. As always, know your industry.
Thank you, David.